Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. You are listening to a podcast by Pastor Eric Siepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. If you enjoy Faith Over Breakfast, we encourage you to rate it on the Apple Podcast app, on Spotify, or Google Play. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. My name is Eric Siepen, and I'm pastor of the Village Church. And across from me is Andy Littleton, pastor of Mission Church. Both of us reside in Tucson, not far from one another.
That's right.
And we've been doing this podcast for a very long time.
25 years.
Okay, so here's exciting news that we didn't celebrate. Last episode was our 200th episode. Yeah. You and I have been talking to each other 200 times on the mic. That's a lot.
That's a lot of times.
A little scary because it catalogs our random and unprepared conversations.
200 of them.
200 random and unprepared conversations. And you could probably trace our changing how we've changed our mind on things and how
foolish we are.
Yeah. Yep. It's all recorded for our history.
Yep.
Until it's not.
Well, thanks for tuning in today. Eric wanted to talk about a little article I put out there, imagining Jesus being born here in Tucson. So we do that. There are thoughts that go beyond that, as always. So I hope you enjoy. I enjoyed you digging into it with me. So thanks.
You're welcome. Enjoying the Christmas life?
I don't know. What's that, Eric?
Just my new phrase.
That's your new phrase?
Yeah, enjoying the Christmas life.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Yeah. Enjoying the Christmas life, Eric. How about you?
I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your fallow month at the village? Yeah. That I heard from, who did I hear? Or was that at Rod's retirement service, that fallow month is really fallow for a lot of people, but not so much you're planning. It's just different.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's fallow in that the seeds are germinating under the soil of your soul.
Well, as one person put it, fallow fields do sprout food. You just don't do a lot. You don't work with them. So you can still pull them up and eat them and use them.
So that's how you get away with eating a lot during the holidays.
Yeah, eating a lot, yeah. That's how we do it.
That's how you justify your gluttony.
I think, fallow for me, it's just, I don't think about, we got to do this Christmas thing. Do this Christmas thing. What are we going to, how's the orchestra going to do its stuff? What I've seen tons and tons of
I don't want to do
Instagram pictures of people being Joseph and Mary and the big productions that they're doing, and I'm just like, oh my goodness.
I'm thrilled not to be doing any of that.
I sat by the fire and read a book.
Yeah.
Last night.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that at Mission, we can't steal fallow month from you guys, but we could get close. We could do wallow month.
Wallow?
Yeah, where we just wallow in our problems.
Why can't you steal fallow month? Because people just say, oh, you're just doing what the village does?
Hey, maybe.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Only one church in the kingdom of God can do fallow month.
That's it, yeah. Everybody can do the Mary and Joseph play, but only one is allowed to do fallow month. That's
interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Fallow month has been copyrighted by the village church. All whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
All whatevers have been.
Yeah. So wallow month. Yeah, we'll just like a pig in its sty. We'll just be wallowing.
Yeah. Wallow month. Well, if you want to be sad and depressed, go to Mission. Christmas.
They'll be wallowing.
Each sermon will help you wallow better.
There might be a real market for that. I think there's people who are looking for a place to wallow. So
maybe you could have marshmallows during.
Ooh, that's like flipping it a little bit. Yeah, the mallow.
Yeah.
Mallow month. I like that.
Malts,
except for my
malts and marshmallows.
Except for
marshmallows and malts. And
my whole
month.
diet thing will get real jacked up by mallow month.
Mallow month. Well, hey, you got to
just thicken up for the next year.
Yeah, there you go.
Give myself another project. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, pure puffy sugar.
Pure puffy sugar. That could be the tagline to your wallow month. Pure puffy sugar.
Just like that. Yeah.
Well, this podcast has been brought to you by Marshmallows.
By Jet Puffed.
Jet Puffed. Well, it's good to see you, Andy. And I guess this is our last podcast for the year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Nice.
It's
that means I get to go fallow for the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
No matter what I call it.
That's right.
Tuesday mornings just got a lot
easier.
Slower. Yeah.
You don't have to rush.
I've got a smile on my face just thinking about it.
I can see it. I can see it now. You don't have to. You don't have to be kind to your old man. The old man.
No. Yeah. No more assumption that I have to be kind on a Tuesday morning early.
That's right.
You can wallow
month.
Yeah.
So you wrote an article. I think it's the most recent one in Medium.
In my little
.org,
my little queue,
thing, yeah.
My little
and it's
stream.
Christmas in Tucson.
Yeah.
It's an interesting article.
Or what if Jesus were born in Tucson?
Yeah.
I think I called it Christmas in Tucson.
You did
originally.
Wow, that's what the title was. I think when I read it again yesterday. I could have an old link or something.
Who knows? Yeah. I wrote, that was a sermon excerpt from last year. And
so let's give a short outline.
Yeah.
Real fast.
Well, so it was part of a sermon. It's midway through. The sermon's linked in there if you want to hear it in context.
There'll be a link in the notes.
Okay, cool. And Cassie, our friend at church, really thought I should write it out and make it. She said, this was last year. She said, I think she just was saying, could I have it written out? But also that would be an interesting thought to capture.
Right.
So I did. It was an interesting thing to listen to a portion of my sermon and try to write it out. Have you ever done that in the reverse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hadn't. So that was an interesting thing to do. I did it last year and just sent it over to her. And then this year I thought, well, what am I going to do with that? I'm trying to share a little more stuff on Medium and, practice writing. So thought I'd put it out there, clean it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Take a couple photos, put it out there. So it was fun.
So can you give a little outline of the...
Oh, right. That's what you asked
for. Yeah. We got the background first. Now, we need the outline.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of a parallel to the shepherd in the scriptures. Not exact parallel, but maybe how people would have felt about them. And so I sort of told the story of the shepherds and the heavenly hosts, but using fast food and grocery store workers at a bus stop here in Tucson. And I drew that from my own story because I did work in fast food, but
Taco Bell, in fact.
Taco Bell. I worked at McDonald's too.
Okay.
But I very much, there's a very different experience one has. This is a slight tangent, but I read a book by a Christian guy, who decided he wanted to know what it was like to be homeless. So he lived homeless for, I want to say it was like a year, and he wrote this book about it. And I read it when I was younger, but something that stuck out to me that maybe it was intuitive as having grown up where I did and how I did, I don't know. But I thought he claims he's experienced homelessness, and there's something true about that. He did experience the discomforts and the cold and the sideways looks. But what he did not experience was the fact that he would be stuck there, maybe, or didn't have a way out.
No way out.
He knew he could end it whenever he wants, and that changes everything. That knowledge changes everything. And so when I was working in fast food, even though I was a kid who grew up in the trailer parks and stuff, I had something instilled in me through my parents that I knew I was choosing to work there because it was the starting rung on a ladder, and I did not assume that's where I would stay. And so I worked with older folks in their 30s, 40s who had been in fast food a while, or they had kind of careened downward into it. And I remember one of them giving me advice one day about my life. And I looked at them, probably 16. I was 16. So very mature, very kind. I looked at her and I said, like, I'm going to take advice from you. Right. Which is something I'm ashamed of saying. But when I thought of the shepherd, I thought we all have people we go, I would not take advice from you. And it's not always just poor people we would say that to. It could be the wealthy guy we think's just stupid. And we'd go, I would not be listening to you. And I kind of drew that in as maybe one of the most important things about being a shepherd type person is it's the one you go, I wouldn't be listening to them. They're not, what they bring is not valuable. They don't know what they're talking about. They're in that class. And so I was thinking, who is that for today? And there's a lot of groups, but for me, I thought of that story of myself at Taco Bell. So it kind of worked out
there's an interesting little piece of a narrative that you build out about, the fast food workers coming, ending their shift, and maybe the stalkers headed to their shift. They're over at the bus stop, and they're eating the potato wedges that were left over, and sharing the cigarette that they can't afford, and in comes the angels and at the bus stop, basically.
And declare that Jesus is wrapped in a fitted sheet down at the Spanish Trail. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. The fitted sheet part.
Yeah. What are the swaddling clothes now? Or
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
And laying in a bathtub.
Laying in a bathtub.
Yeah. So that was. So I thought I'd put it out there. So now that I've given you background you didn't even want. Just
People
kidding.
want it. They
Just
really
kidding.
want it.
Just kidding. Background you didn't quite ask for yet, I should say, and we've told a bit of it. Yeah, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Why'd you want to talk about it?
Well, I thought it was interesting,
Yeah.
and I think it's always cool when you can take something that happened a very long time ago and put some ways to maybe reimagine it or to feel and experience it and kind of ponder that reality.
What do you think about doing that? I asked this because of a couple things. John Del Husse who's a former Greek professor in Phoenix, and now he's doing spiritual formation stuff. He was down here with Serge, and he was talking to us about how he had learned to read the Bible by trying to learn to inhabit the text.
Yeah.
Many people weren't too interested in reading that way. He's working on a commentary that reads the Gospels that way.
Sure.
And then I just finished A Burning in My Bones yesterday, which is the biography of Eugene Peterson, who was...
I read that a few years ago.
It just came out, Eric.
No.
Didn't it?
No. My dad gave it to me for my birthday.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe the paperback just came out. Anyway, I'm
pretty sure.
I still have my doubts.
I'm pretty sure I read it. Unless he just came out with another one. Autobiography or biography?
Biography.
Oh, no, I read his autobiography.
So, maybe you did. I don't know. I actually can't recall. I thought it was newer, but sometimes I think things are newer that I heard of 3 years ago.
You're trying to call me a liar online and on the air is what you're trying to do.
And you're trying to resist it, and that's okay. I understand. Right. I understand. My point in bringing that up was to say, the message and trying to infuse modern English idiom into it, and he was criticized for that. So how valuable do you see kind of recasting things to our modern mind? That's what I was doing there, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I don't have a problem with that. In fact, we talk about imagination as one of the key parts of discipleship. If you can't embody the moments with Jesus, then it's very difficult for you to hear his words. It
Right.
just becomes a text. I mean, part of the fact of a living document, it's a different kind of document. It's a document that's still active and moving.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation between Jesus and the woman at the well, or Jesus and the woman caught in adultery, or the moment when Peter proclaims Jesus to be Christ. Those aren't just factual things. They're moments that you're invited to stand in them yourself and be the one who declares it, or experience Peter doing that, or hear the words of, I don't condemn you, go and sin no more. Like all that stuff being, allowing yourself to be in those spaces and allowing your imagination to see what that might have been like in a modern space.
And I mean, is it true? I've heard this said that may have been more of the intent of the writers of some of these ancient stories, wasn't just to transmit facts as our history book would, but to tell a story, a true story, that also invited you to wonder what it would be like to be David facing Goliath, or what do you think about that?
I think 2021 on that Eugene Peterson book.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
So not 3 years ago, but
Yes.
didn't just come out.
Yeah, no, it didn't. I think
The fact checker has confirmed.
Has confirmed that I read his biography, not his autobiography, which
or flipped.
right, autobiography. Yes, I read his autobiography.
Okay.
Which I think I was trying to find the title. I don't know if it was A Long Obedience in the Same Direction or something like that. But that's one of his books.
That one's a little older, but it's
no. This one is like he's writing about his retirement, talking about his church, talking about his experiences of God.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
so
got a little Eugene Peterson. I got a little off track.
You got a little.
Yes. You're saying, did the writers intend this? Well,
Is there some degree to which they did? Do you think?
Well, I don't know.
I've heard that.
I don't know if their intention was for me to do those things, because I don't know if they were actually thinking that far ahead. But I do think, just in the way that they experience narratives, it's a little different because we live in a modern age, and so a linear storyline is important to us,
right?
And it's not so important to them.
That's what I'm saying. Like when the role they thought stories would play in the reader's mind it was a little different. Yeah. Not that they would have imagined us zooming around and internal combustion engine, vehicles flying all over our cities, listening to audio versions of their books. They probably couldn't have put all that together and gone, I hope that they watch The Chosen and imagine. Right. Yeah.
But I do think part of what's interesting about the church and the scripture and the writers is that because there was such an anticipation of Christ's return, and I think there's a reason the Father did not tell the Son, like, we don't know the exact time, is because there's an urgency for the church. We should always be in this place where we're thinking he's coming back. And so part of even just the text is imagining, well, what's that like in this moment, and how does that text speak to that, and how is it part of who we are and what we're doing, and how's it telling our story, and how are we part of that story? And
that's a super that we should file that away for a future podcast. The idea of the imminence of the return of Christ and how we should feel about that. I think about it from time to time, or wondering how valuable it is to be thinking it could be soon versus because there's anxieties that can bring in folks too. Anyway, that'd be really interesting. So I think for me, even putting that out there, I've that's a bit of how my mind works. I do think more in stories. I'm an imaginative person. I get very excited and caught up in imaginations of things, or things that could be. That even comes in with the creative side, or things that I would make or whatever, are things I've usually imagined far ahead of time. Some of them come to be, some don't. And I realize that not everybody is this way, right? And so I tend to think that way.
Yeah, and I would argue how you interpret the text, hermeneutic. My hermeneutic has a lot of imagination built into it. Like, when you read a relatively, controversial passage that we talked about, like 1 Timothy 2, when I read that whole passage, I'm imagining a church service. So I'm
Yeah.
seeing like a bunch of older men arguing and trying to come, and people trying to get them to come into service and actually agree with each other. And I see
Yeah.
these women with these, this hair, all done up, and there's a ton of candles and it's lighting on fire. And then I'm like, imaginations get, sparkles all off of their diamonds in their hair.
I was really tracking with you till the fire and the sparkles.
Well,
I mean, I can imagine that too, but
I remember once when I preached on it last time, I was thinking, well, here's a practical reason why we wouldn't want to have jewels in your hair during service. It's just distracting to the eyes because of all the reflections off the candles, guys.
And you're thinking of, have you ever preached when some kid had a laser pointer?
Yeah,
it's the same.
Exactly.
If you got jewels in your hair, I can't talk to you.
I can't see. Like, it's blinding.
Eric, you found the key to the text. It's the interpretation is locked in forever. That's what it is right there.
Well, I mean, but I think of those things, even in Paul's very practical things about loving people, and don't be a slanderer, don't use coarse language, don't be sexually immoral. I don't see those as just like, okay, here's some behavior lists. I'm thinking of stories where these things play themselves out, and what happens in those stories. And
that's good, because he wasn't just writing in to avoid grabbing concepts. He didn't just go, which 6 concepts from the Old Testament should I put in here? He was writing to a group of people who were doing things, and he knew exactly what they were doing, and he probably didn't tell us, or he didn't enumerate in the letter every detail.
Right.
And so, but he's addressing stuff as you and I could in our churches, right? We could think through things that we're like, no, that's happening and that's not okay. We have decided it's not okay because of the witness of Scripture, but we aren't just interpreting Scripture. We're speaking to people, right? Like, there's a lot to it. Yeah. Anyway, I think I've always been an imaginative guy, but I'm learning to use that more in discipleship and teaching than I used to. And you probably see that in that little write-up.
Yeah.
That was me saying, imagine with me what this could have been like to go deeper. Another example of that would have been when I was talking about washing their feet, Jesus washing the disciples' feet. This was a few years ago. I had a similar line of thought, like, what's the servant role today? Because when we do foot washing services, I was in a church where one of the sacraments was foot washing. Mm-hmm. And it always it didn't, to me, feel that profound. That we went up front, or took your shoes off, you got your feet washed. I wasn't like floored, to me personally. Maybe others were, but I wasn't like, you would wash my feet? I wasn't. I was just like, yeah, okay. We're doing a foot washing service.
What would be the thing?
So what I ended up bringing up in the service was cleaning my toilet. And I brought up the janitor cart with the gloves and the spray and the toilet brush.
That's a good one.
At church,
like that.
And just said, that's when you go, no, you really don't need to do that. Like, someone comes over to your house and they kind of take a glance around and they're talking to you and they say, hold on just a second. And they reach under your sink and grab all that stuff and get down on their hands and knees with the pumice stone and start
really going to town on that toilet.
And I remember we were helping a guy move into a mobile home that was in really rough shape, and we were all doing various jobs, and the toilet was really bad. And my dad came to help, and he grabbed a pumice stone, and he just sat back there for like 2 hours, just chipping away crap. Just slow, methodical until it glistened, right? And you think of a moment like that and you go, whoa. Yeah. I mean, that struck not just me. There were others there that were like, wow, no, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want that role.
I think like if somebody came and cleaned my car.
Yeah?
Like, because it's sort of the traveling thing. But, people's cars, I don't know how many times I've gotten in people's cars and they apologize. Oh, I'm sorry for stuff in the seat. Oh, I'm sorry the car. I haven't cleaned it in a while.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about imagining is there's something that to you would be extremely servant-like. Yeah, and it's good
sense
to think through. So when Jesus washes the feet, he did the thing that only a servant would do, that they went, no, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't, right? And to think through, what would that look like? What would that feel like?
Yeah.
What would it feel like for Jesus to do that thing? And then what would his words mean in light of that feeling? Yeah. Right. So I think there's that. Well, I've been leaning into that.
I'm thinking, just to go back to your church that had foot washing as a sacrament.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would feel different to you if they made everyone, like they put out a manure path and made everyone take off their shoes and then walk through the manure path and then come into church.
Yeah, maybe
their sandals on might change
maybe, except even then it would have been all a show,
right?
All a production. Like, I just got my feet dirty. Previous to this,
but it's a sacrament. I mean, so it's communion. So
yeah. No, I get it. I'm just saying that there was. I actually think I'd be more pro the foot washing service in light of it being taught imaginatively.
Sure.
That's maybe what I'm saying. Go. So now realizing how profound it was what Jesus did, let's enact that.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what we do a lot of times before the Lord's Supper, or should, is I think we need to recast the Lord's Supper in so many ways to try to help bring it home. So it's not just, all right, he died, bread, he bled, wine, let's do this, which nobody says. But
that might be compelling if you turned it into a rap there.
Did I rap? I didn't know.
What'd you say? He bread, died, blood. I don't know how it was good. We'll have to go back to the tape there and take a look.
Okay. Yeah, you could do a remix. So just cut that out and put a beat behind it.
Well, can we end around, because there was one more thing I want to talk to you about in your article, because the article really talked about. It started with the humility of Mary and kind of ended with the humility of Mary and what humbleness meant.
Because we were teaching out of the Magnificat.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting that you ended the article with Jesus comes to the humble. I think was how you said that. How you kind of wrote that. And can you just say a little bit about I think thoughts on the humility of Mary and the humility, what that means?
Yeah, I was just reading. So out of that so we were teaching on the Magnificat, and around Good Friday,
Mary's
Easter.
Song, by the way.
Yeah, yes, Mary's Song. So I put together a little book about the Garden of Gethsemane in downtown Tucson, and I included some thoughts based on the Magnificat, because that's what I was teaching through at the time when I was originally writing these things. And that is a striking trait of Mary. That is why the Catholic Church rightly sees her as the first disciple, is because she receives the Word of God in humility. She assumes its truth, and just is a recipient of grace without question. And I think that's also what we see in the shepherds on that hillside, and sort of what I was hoping for people to imagine is, I think that group of fast food workers or Safeway workers they have an advantage over many of us, in that if God, and because I put in the article something about these are the people whose faith is simple enough to receive this, and it sounds a little degrading. That's not the wording. It sounds a little negative, but I meant that to jar someone slightly, because it's not degrade. It means that they actually might go, I think God just appeared. They wouldn't intellectualize themselves out of it and claim superiority while they did it. They might just give it a shot, because why not, right? Mm-hmm. What do you have to lose? And there's a real advantage in being there. But you don't have to be physically poor to be humble. You can be at a place spiritually where you go, you know what? Why not? What would it hurt to try believing this?
Right.
And there's a lot of other ways humility can look, but it was kind of that receptivity that says, well, I don't have it all going on.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe God does. So I think that's sort of what I was getting at. But as I said, that snippets from the middle of a sermon. So there's the stuff about Mary and everything is worked out.
Yeah.
Over that entire thought. But that's, as far as trying, I think I pulled a little bit of that from later in the sermon, if I remember right, because I had to just put an ending on it.
Yeah.
For the article. But yeah, I guess that's what I mean when I'm talking about the humble. Those who
that's good.
Who say, well, I suppose if God said so, okay. If God says go to the Spanish Trail Inn, he's wrapped in a fitted sheet and laying in a bathtub, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So who's willing to go check it out?
I think that's sort of the reminder always of Christmas and in particular Advent season is that we are called, yes, to celebrate the birth of Jesus and to look forward to his return, but there's still that beginnings. It's always, we should go check it out.
We should go check it out. Yeah.
Even though we've been checking it out for 30 years, we probably should go check it out. Like that's this invitation to have the freshness of the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal in our spiritual walk with God.
I agree. Well, Eric, I'm going to have to journey here soon, so I suppose it's time to put down the mic.
Put down the mic. So thank you for following through and actually discussing with me the thing that we told everybody we would discuss.
Thanks for reminding me that's what we were doing yesterday.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And so, you can email us at faithoverbreakfast@gmail.com.
Thank you,
if you didn't know, now you
way.
do. Yeah, Colleen.
That's super encouraging.
Yeah.
Thank you for us.
Cool.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
So yeah, if you want to send encouraging notes, that's great. If you work for Jet Puffed Marshmallows and you want to go ahead and take us up on that sponsorship assumption that we made earlier, you can preferably pay us in cash, or if you want to donate marshmallows, we will share them with our community.
Yes.
So just a little thrown in there. I know these get pretty worldwide airtime, so just throwing it out there. Jet Puffed, thank you for all you do, and we'll see you next time.
All righty. You've been listening to Faith Over Breakfast with Pastor Eric Siepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. Please share us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you.